friend, Miss Coni Meyers, who is going to be talking to us about doing well by doing good. And she is the founder of CKM Solutions Group, which is Crystalline Moments Success Movement, and Kickbutt Leadership. She's also a 6-time international bestseller, author, speaker, and trainer, and a good friend of mine. Hello, Coni. How are you?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Dan. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So do well by doing good. I like it. Tell us more.
Okay, you bet. I'm gonna reduce the faces so I can see what I'm doing here. Give me a minute. Okay.
Don't reduce us. We're big people.
You are good people.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
inviting me. And as you know, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. And I just got back from Inman, where there was a lot of discussion on community leadership and alternative ways to find new clients and that sort of thing. So I think this is very, very timely when it comes to how we can really step outside of our box and do things a little bit differently. So this is all about how to really do well in your business and in your life by doing the right thing, by doing good things. And I'm hoping that you all will get some really good information out of this. I don't usually talk. Why is this not moving? Hold on a second here. I need to move this.
We can help you with it too, I'm sure.
There we go.
All right.
I'm not going to talk a lot about myself. He pretty much summed it up. But what I can tell you is that everything I've done, I'm going to be 75, and everything I've done since I was 23 years old was in training for what I'm doing today. I used to say I was like a cat with 9 lives, 9 different careers, but in reality, no. If I hadn't had all those different careers and done all the different things I've done, I wouldn't be able to have the nonprofit that I recently founded called Crisis Knowledge Management and Preparedness Foundation. I started it because I really wanted to find a way of making difference. At CKM Solutions Group, I had written a certification called Crisis Knowledge Management Certification, and I created CKM advisors all around the country that would help other people be better prepared and more sustainable. And I realized about halfway, this came out in 2020. So between 20 and 21, I had 38 CKM advisors all around the country take the certification. But what I realized is that I would be much better served, and the country would be much better served, if I made it into a nonprofit. And the reason being is when I was writing the certification, I did a bunch of research on organizations that are involved in crisis preparedness, in disasters, natural as well as man-made, conflicts around the world, and that sort of thing. And what I discovered in reading their histories and the backgrounds of these organizations, there's a lot of faith-based organizations that also started this way, that they were all started by 1, 2, I think the most is Team Rubicon, there were 4. They were all started by 1 or 2 individuals, and they're global. Every one of these are global organizations. And I thought to myself, as passionate as I am about helping people be prepared, I can do this too. So I really made a commitment to myself and to the people around me to really jump in and do this the right way. I have a question for you. Do you know the difference between being involved and being committed? It's like the ham and eggs you have for breakfast in the morning. Which one are you? The chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. So I hope there's a lot of oinks out there, because what we're going to be talking about is going to take true commitment and will make a big difference in your life and your business and your community.
John Turner's with us, so we got that covered.
Okay, good.
I mean, John Root. I didn't mean to John Turner. I meant Johnny Root. Sorry, John Root.
Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you. So Helen Keller says, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And there's never been a more important time or a more important time for opportunities, especially in the real estate space. I mean, I think we're coming out of COVID. We're all trying to find new ways to do things. And we all have kind of a new, different attitude. And then the market kind of shifted as well. So we have all those things that we're facing. As I go through this, I'm going to use my nonprofit as examples of what I'm doing. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about all the things that you could do. in your community. If you're already involved in your community, I would love to hear at the end when we take Q&A what you're doing in your community to really make a difference. But it really starts with what you're really passionate about, and being able to lead by example. And no better people than real estate professionals to be those people that are out there leading. And I know Dan is one of those folks that does this. The best way to do that is to become a resource. So we're going to be talking about how to become a resource, why it's important, what the benefits are going to be by you becoming the resource for your community. So the first thing we want to look at is, what are you passionate about? And what does your community need most? So for me, actually, pretty much all of these I'm passionate about, but the number one thing that really stood out for me was kids, which is why we created the Kits for Kids. But is it military? Is it homeless? Is it animals? Is it disasters? Is it divorce and death or loss of a job, or whatever is going on? Maybe there's something unique to your community. Maybe you're being affected more than others by climate change, or maybe there's something else going on in your community. Whatever that is, how can you create a opportunity around that by being a community leader? This says there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And I truly believe that that's absolutely true. It's really important for us to really dive in. I can tell you, as you will be able to tell before the end of this, how passionate I really am about what I'm doing. And I hope that I can give some of that to you to inspire you to do the same. So what does it really take? Oh, I didn't go. There we go. So Diane mentioned I have a training called Kickbutt Leadership. I wrote it about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. It was right after my second book came out. And Kickbutt is when mindfulness meets vision, opportunity, and engagement. Then you are a Kickbutt leader. So my guess is there's probably a few Kickbutt leaders on this call. I know Dan is, that's for sure. So what does it mean? It means that you have to have a clear vision. In order to have a good Kickbutt leader, you have to have a purpose-driven vision, and you have to come from it. When I talk about coming from a vision, I like to talk about the Grand Canyon. Now, probably most of you have been to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. That's where most everybody goes. But is there anybody that's been to the North Rim? The North Rim is kind of unknown. It's about 90 miles of going into the forest to get to it. But it is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. It's green, it's lush, it's beautiful. Where the South Rim is like a kind of high desert. So I like to tell people, when you're coming, you've got to come from your vision. You can't go to it. You have to come from it. So I like to tell people to pretend, close your eyes and pretend you're standing at the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. And you're looking, your life today is the South Rim. And now what you need to build that bridge. So just imagine all the steps you would take to build the bridge from the South Rim of the Grand Canyon to where you're standing, the North Rim. And it's really coming from that. So you have to know where you're going to end up, and then you build from that. So thinking about what you might be passionate about, put yourself that it's already happened. It's a year from now, it's 2 years from now, whatever it is, and it's already happened. And what does that look like? So that creates a real clear vision, which also then creates opportunities, it creates passion, it creates commitment, and it creates enthusiasm. Now, what kind of qualities do you need to have to be a really good community leader? Well, the number one quality is integrity. It's absolutely that we're kind of shorthanded of some of that right now in our world, but we really need, and particularly real estate professionals already know this because you have to deal with your clients all the time, and have integrity and also be very trustworthy. So integrity and trustworthiness are the core values of purpose-driven leadership. And that's what creates community resiliency. The commitment and obviously authenticity is so critically important. I'm a farm girl from Nebraska. So what you see is what you get. I don't do well around people that like to try to be somebody they're not. I usually like to try to step on their toes. So commitment and prioritizing your social responsibility will create empathy and the emotional intelligence that fosters a positive opportunity and a positive participation. So really evaluating yourself and I do have a questionnaires if you would like to kind of test yourself. If you will email me, I'll be more than happy to send those to you to kind of evaluate where you are. Okay, let's talk about how the consumer is creating pressure points and investors as well. This is a study that was done in 2017. So these numbers are probably a little skewed. They're probably not as big as they are now. But these are important points about why you want to have a social cause or be a community leader. The first one is 92% of consumers say they have a more positive image when a company supports a social or environmental issue. 89% of consumers are likely to switch to a brand that is associated with a good cause, or even if it costs a little bit more money. 88% of consumers are more loyal to a company when they support social and environmental causes. 87% of consumers will purchase products and services based upon whether or not that organization has a culture of something they want to support. And then 86% of Americans expect companies to do more than make a profit. They expect companies to also address social and environmental issues. And 70% of consumers believe that companies are obligated, not just that they should, but they're obligated to take action toward improving issues that may not even be relevant to their business operations. So that creates an incredible opportunity for a real estate professional to stand out in their organization or in their community. Community leadership is the courage, creativity, and capacity to inspire participation, development, and sustainability for strong communities. And it's really the pressure of consumers that's demanding companies change their business model. That's what's really driving and leading innovation. So there are two rankings that now people look at. The first one is your corporate social responsibility ranking. First of all, 90% of all companies on the S&P publish their CSR report. 93% of employees believe a company must lead with purpose. 76% say their company must make a difference in the community. You know, there's a lot of companies out there right now that are having a hard time attracting millennials and Gen Zers, and this is why. 58% of purpose-driven companies saw 10% growth in the past 3 years. So being purpose-driven and having a cause and having something you're standing up for, like being a community leader, it's proved now that it's going to improve your business. 60% of employees would take a pay cut to work for a purpose-driven business. So developing a really strong giving program, like becoming a community leader and finding those things that are important in your community that you can really help and stand out with and amplify. That's going to amplify your business, and it's going to amplify you personally. When companies shift from purpose and focus on becoming socially conscious, and more likely like-minded individuals will become aware, and they will come and support you. In other words, they'll become your clients. And employees really want to work with a company that has positive impact. Mike Clasper says people are going to want and be able to find out about the citizenship of a brand and whether it is doing the right thing socially, economically, and environmentally. So people are really looking at these the CSRs as well as the ESGs. Now, ESG was a product or a ranking that came out when the UN came out with their sustainability. And it's now a ranking that ranks companies based upon environmental, social, and governance and how they run their business. Darren Walker says, not just 5% of your money you give away that matters, it's what you do with the other 95% that is more important. And there's really a lot of changes and things that are going on in ESG. Environmental really covers all different kinds of emissions. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go back here. Oh, what am I doing? Went the wrong way. Sorry about that. So the environmental factors that are included when they look at this ranking are pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, waste generation, energy efficiency, what the impact of biodiversity. And by the way, if you don't know what that is, it's all the different kinds of life you find in one area, aka your community. And the real need to tackle the whole climate change issue by lowering it to net zero by 2050 has made an impact on what people look at when it comes to the environmental key of this. Social factors include things like diversity, labor standards, health and safety. It also looks at the supply chains. Are they using child or forced labor? Wider human rights issues, including sourcing from conflict areas. And then governance is really all about how you run your business and how well the company is managed. And like from the boardroom, you may not have a boardroom, and boardroom might be just you. But the bottom line, how are you running your business? How are you looking at gender equality? How are you being free from corrupt practices? And also how well the capital is distributed. All those things fall underneath the governance. And according to a 2020 report on sustainability, 80% of top companies now report on sustainability in 3 key areas: the risk of biodiversity loss, climate change and carbon reduction reporting, and reporting on the United Nations Sustainability Development. So it's really an area where there's more and more focus. And that relates to the Wall Street, because now the hottest area on Wall Street is with the sustainability focused funds. And right now they're nearing $2 trillion. And this was actually, this was from about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when the Piper Stevens came out with this report. So it does matter. And I'm sure the numbers are much higher now. Now, when it comes to investors, 43% of our population are millennials or Gen Zers. And they're having a major impact on the real estate business, on every business. They're kind of like when the baby boomers, I'm a baby boomer. When I first came out, where we had a big impact on the world, right? Well, that's what's happening between the millennials and the Gen Zers. So anyone that's about around 20 years old up to 40 falls into that range. And they are the largest workforce, right? Millennials are the largest workforce right now. But you combine those with the Gen Zers, and they are the receiving end of a wealth transfer as big as tens of trillions of dollars. So they're a major player when it comes to the real estate space as well as investors. Over 71% put faith and investments in the companies that have CSR and ESG rankings. CSR, the mandated assets, equal half of all managed assets. And by 2025, they're expecting that to be $35 trillion. So there's an opportunity here for real estate professionals, especially if you're in the investment side. That would be a really good spot to be right now. More than 90% of companies have, it pops by itself. That's interesting. More than 90% of companies have CSR and ESG rankings, and 80% of companies report exposure and risk associated with climate change. 63% of ESG propositions had positive impact on equity returns, meaning, AKA, you're going to make more money. So that's all really good advice. And really, I want you to look at this. And this may seem like it's bigger if you're not a big, huge company where you've got lots of agents and that. But I want you to take a look at this. And when you're thinking about your community leadership, how you might be able to use some of this to impact your industry or in your community and make a difference. How does it actually increase everything that when it comes to employees? Well, first of all, you increase employee productivity by 13%. You reduce employee turnover by 50%, and you increase employee engagement by 7.5%. But most important, you increase revenue by as much as 20%, just by making sure that you are looking at the ESG and the CSR. And if you report something, even if you're a one-person shop, if you have a cause or something that you're supporting on your website and letting people know about it, you are going to increase your business. So as consumers are looking at things today and investors, they are expecting operations to benefit to the better good of society. And a really good example of that is the Rotary Club. The Rotarians back in 1979, James Bomar was the Rotary International president. He was the first Rotarian to issue the first polio vaccine to a little boy in India. And they have been doing it ever since. They now to date have gotten 2.5 billion children immunized. And if you are Rotarian, thank you. They have their polio day on October 24th. And it shows you what an impact leaders can have. Rotarians throughout the country do major impacts throughout their community. So if you're Rotarian, thank you. And if you're not, you might want to look into it. If not, just be your own community leader. But that's kind of an example of what you can do. To give you a couple of real estate examples, Valerie Torelli out of Irvine, California, she has a very small office. She has 11 agents. And she has been the #1 office in Irvine for the last 15 years. And her secret is community leadership. Her secret is, well, on Christmas, she brings in a semi truck full of snow. On Halloween, she brings in a semi truck full of pumpkins. And on Easter, she has Easter parades throughout Irvine, giving away chocolate and candy and all that kind of stuff. Another really good example is Tiffany McCade out of Florida. Tiffany, during the COVID, because she's always going out and doing things, well, they did, she's in Naples, and she did parades, Easter parades and Christmas parades throughout the community, going through residential areas, handing out Easter stuff and then Christmas stuff. So that just gives you, and she's one of the top in Southern Florida, one of the top brokerages there. So this stuff really does work. To give you an idea, this has a little bit to do about what I'm doing. To me, so my son, when he's in his 50s now, but when he was 10, he went to the fire department. He came back with a little can of baking soda. And he says, "Mom, why isn't this next to your stove?" And I've had a can of baking soda next to my stove ever since. So today, our kids are in serious trouble. Because of the desocialization from COVID, the bullying, the social media, the shootings, all of those things, our children, suicide is doubled in the last 3 years. PTSD among our kids is up 50%. And some kids are very afraid to even go to school. Parents, 76% are worried about anxiety and depression, 74% about bullying. They're over 50% about kidnapping, abduction, and shootings, and 53% about drugs and alcohol. All of these things are playing havoc with our children. So for me, it was like, okay, what can I do to protect our kids? Because I talk a lot about in my training, I talk a lot about all the natural disasters, which have a huge impact on children, usually the largest impact of any of the population. And yet they also now are having a major impact with the number of shootings and things like that are taking place in our school. And the one thing, no matter what our belief systems are, the one thing we can all agree on is we want to protect our kids. So I came up with a program I'll be talking about in a minute called Kits for Kids. But I want you to take this and look at okay, what is it that you're passionate about? Maybe it's kids, maybe it's homeless, maybe whatever it is. And do the research to find out, okay, how are other people going to look at this? I can tell you that I went to 3 major events in the last 3 months, and every single one of them, I've been met with open arms with what I'm doing. So that's what you want to look for. You want to look for this little nugget where you might make a difference. So there was a study done in January of 2020 by the Association of International Certified Public Accountants. And they found that 60%, this is before COVID, okay, 60% of Americans believe they will be impacted by a disaster in the next 3 to 5 years. Little did they know, huh? And then only 15 to 35% have done any sort of preparation. And I can guarantee you, I talk to those people that say they've got preparation in that 35% bracket. I can assure you they're not prepared. They're not. So we've created a program called Kits for Kids, and I'll explain more about that later. But I want you to use this as an idea getter, how you can find the things that you're passionate about. Get the numbers so you can cite the numbers. Give them the statistics and say why you're involved and why you want to help. And let's take a minute and talk about social media. Fewer than 17% of consumers cite social media as a trustworthy source, but they still, so it's really important to use social media wisely. A lot of them, 60% actually look at social media to get the information. So if you're going to be providing social media, make it wise, use integrity, make sure that it's reliable and honest. I actually take a look at all the statistics monthly that I talk about to make sure that I'm talking about the right statistics, because I want to make sure that people know that they're getting the right information from me. So what are 5 ways to be a good community leader? Well, we've talked a little bit about finding volunteer opportunities that you can look for. One of the things I want you to keep in mind, though, is don't overload yourself with volunteer opportunities. Make sure that when you schedule your time, that you're scheduling your time and making sure that you've got the time to do it. And so that you're not hurting your business. You want to help your business, not hurt it. So but it is important to show that you are a part of the community and want to be involved in it. And then be an agent of change. Be that resource that people come to, whatever it is, whether it's real estate, whether it's something else you're passionate about. Maybe you've got ways of helping the homeless. Maybe you've got ways of helping people that are sick. Whatever it is, people that are going through divorce, maybe you team up with some attorneys and stuff. Whatever that is, be a valuable resource, and also really create human connection over sales. So one of the really good examples I like to do of that, my partners, we founded Online Ed, it's now owned by the California Association of Realtors. It was an online real estate education platform. And my two partners were brokers prior to that. Every holiday for about 15 years, every Christmas, the 3 weekends before Christmas, they would have parties, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, all 3 nights. And they would invite their previous clients or clients they were working with or people that they thought were going to be clients. And literally after about 5 or 6 years, people were calling them in January to find out what night in December they were going to be invited to the party. So, I mean, that's a little extreme. And the good news is they're not doing it anymore because they're old as me. But the bottom line is that be that valuable resource, but also find a way of connecting with people that is going to bring them to you for those sales, not necessarily have the sales and then find them. And then having client appreciation events like what my partners do, it really does make a difference. And showing your gratitude is everything. And then it comes to hosting fundraisers. Find some nonprofits, maybe it's a dog rescue or something that has to do with kids, Boys and Girls Club, something like that, and help be a part of those fundraisers, because that will help you to stand out and show that you are making a difference. We do that in a couple of different ways. So I call my program the Journey to Sustainability Through the Power of Preparedness. You know, they're talking about that we're going to have to reduce our greenhouse gases to 0 by 2050, by 40% by 2030, which is right around the corner. And they say that it's going to take 25 to 40 years for the gases that are already in the air to be released and cleaned, which means that my great-grandson, who's 7, is going to be 47 years old if that takes 40 years. So my goal is to do something about the mitigation, to eliminate as much as we can. And we do that through providing educational services, programs to help individuals, businesses, communities, and become more sustainable, prepared, and ready. Find a mission statement that fits for whatever you're passionate about. And then creating that vision. Our vision, we want to inspire everyone to take action. We're looking for community leaders to go out in their communities and help us to get the word out and make a positive impact on the world. Our goal is to help 30 million people be more sustainable and prepared. And we're doing that through 3 different ways. We have my book that I've written. It's my 6th best-selling book, When the Unthinkable Happens, Be Prepared, Be Ready. It's not a book you put on a bookshelf. It's a book that you use as a reference guide. And when I give a lot of them away, and I tell people when you give them away now, this is not a book you put on the shelf. This is a book you actually open up and look at it. And then we have training. We have the certification. I have all kinds of individual trainings I've done on types of disasters, mindset, all that stuff, and that we provide to the community leaders that are out there. And then I've mentioned our Kits for Kids. That's our first initiative. But we also are going to have, for those of you that don't have kids, we do have kits for pets. We're planning kits for seniors, kits for people on disability and mentally challenged. We've got a whole list of them that are coming down the pipe. Bob McKinnon, who is, he was one of the original founders of Century 21, he's now Exit Realty's leadership director, said, "You've made a sale with me. Let's all start raising our hand to what a beautiful fit for a real estate professional in the community to stand out." Find whatever you can do to stand out. Whatever is your passion. It's really boils down to your passion. And the way that we're going to achieve our mission and vision is by educating and empower our communities to be better prepared and more sustainable. By creating citizens and businesses that are resilient, they can become familiar with commitment to excellence. And that's exactly what community leaders are all about, right? And one of the reasons we're doing it is FEMA has this great big giant website called ready.gov. You can go there and you can get all the information you need to have. The problem is you get lost. And second of all, it's called preparedness procrastination. It's actually a term used by FEMA quite a bit, which I experienced when I had my CKM preparedness advisors going out, and everybody's going, and I've done tons of seminars and stuff, and they're going, yeah, this is really important, but I don't have time right now. So that's the reason we're going after the kids, because the kids will egg the parents to do something. Uh-oh. Okay, let me go back. I don't know, it's jumping. I apologize. The community citizens are the first responders. By the way, just so you know, it's not the first responders, the firemen and the truck and the policemen that are going to save your butts. It's going to be your neighbors and the people around you. You are the first responders. And there's a program called CERT. It's part of FEMA, but it's free. And they have over 600,000 volunteers. If you've not heard of it, your community probably has a chapter there. Find out about it. They give free training on all types of things, but specific to your community. So look into that, because it's an amazing, amazing program. But that's what we're going to do. We're providing the tools for people to be able to go out there and be those community leaders. Now, the number one thing, the most important thing in any part of our lives and business is mindset. Everything boils down to it. And I've talked about the Kickbutt mindset, but the mindset that really needs to happen and what Kickbutt is being resilient. There was an incredible study done back in 2011. It involved Harvard Business Review, Forbes magazine, Yale University, a bunch of think tanks, some government agencies, and they identified 57 industries and took leaders from each one of those and put them through a battery of tests where they scanned their brains. They went through, psychological testing, all of that, and then they divided them in half. And half went through 12 weeks of mindfulness training, and the other half didn't. And then after they went through that training, they spent another 8 weeks on their own doing the mindfulness practices. And the results were staggering. First of all, think about this. Mindfulness time creates emotional intelligence in 4 areas. Now think about this for your life, for your business, for being a community leader. How important is focus to everything you do in life? How important is compassion? We all need to have a compassion. If you're in the real estate space, you've got to have a compassionate heart. Right now, how important is creativity? How important is it for you to think outside of the box of what you're going to do to get that next transaction? And how important is it to have clarity in where we're going and what we're doing? Mindfulness practices create emotional intelligence in all those areas. But now let's take it one step further. There are 3 major areas of improvement. When they got done and they retested everybody, there was over a 90%, I repeat that, 90% increase in resiliency. How important is resiliency, right? That's what we've been talking about, right? It was over a 90% in collaboration. We collaborate all day long. How about if we have over a 90% increase in our ability to collaborate and find the right people to collaborate with? It was over 80% increase in the agility of complex thinking. So being able to fish through problems or handle a disaster, or handle a crisis, or handle a difficult real estate transaction. And they took this study, there was a university out of British Columbia that took this study along with 19 others a few years later, put them all together. Now, I mentioned I'm going to be 75, so my brain really matters. The gray matter actually increased in size by doing these things. So mindfulness no longer should be something that you think is nice to do, but if you're living, it's a thing that you must have. I'll do anything to increase my brain power, let me tell you. So in order to create that resilient mindset, by the way, this is a picture I took. It was the hurricane in New Orleans prior to Katrina. It says, life's not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about dancing in the rain. So any part of our life, if we create a resilient mindset, we're going to be able to look at, okay, what is the gift and opportunity? These are all, I call them crystalline moments. Crystalline means sparkly or clear. Crystalline moments always provide moments of clarity that give us gifts and opportunity. That was my first book, by the way. So what do we need to do to make sure that we have that resilient mindset, and how can we pass it along to others? Well, there's a 10-minute routine I'll be telling you about that you could do in the morning and at night that will help you to maintain that. One of the things I have the most difficult time doing is getting up and moving around every 2 hours. I get busy on a project and I just sit and I do it until it's done. Sometimes I go to stand up and I can't even stand up. So I'm working hard on that one. And then one of the important things we need to remember are there's some things we just can't control. And we need to be able to accept that and let it go. And then I'm going to tell you about the STOP acronym, but the STOP acronym is used by first responders. It's used by emergency planning people, the doctors and nurses learn this also. It's a good acronym you can use for any part of your business. And then how are we going to help others? Well, once we get a resilient mindset, now we can also help others move into that and build back better. We can help them stay focused and out of victim mindset. I'd like to give you a good example of that. So there were stories about the fires in Maui and Lahaina. I can't believe Lahaina is gone. But there were stories about that this morning, and there were a couple of interviews where they said, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've lost everything. I don't know how I'm going to move forward. And that is the victim mindset. There were others that said, you know, I've lost everything, but I have my life. I can rebuild. That is a resilient mindset. And that's what we need to do, is have a resilient mindset. So anytime there's any kind of stressful situation, resiliency is the most important thing to have. And it's a way that will move you forward, avoid the victim mindset, and build back, which is exactly what the definition of resiliency is. So what are the two mindfulness practices? Are the same. By the way, you don't have to add this to your routine. You can put it in the time where you're already drinking your coffee, or you are in the shower or brushing your teeth. It's not something that's going to take a lot of extra time. The first thing I want you to do is to breathe and meditate or pray, whatever your belief system is, for 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Don't close your eyes. It doesn't matter. Then I want you to write down 3 things you're grateful for from the day before, or if it's in the evening that day, and then 3 successes you have. What that does is actually changes the chemistry of your brain. So now you're looking for things to be grateful for, and you're looking for things that are going to be successes that day. And then what I want you to do is create a vision affirmation for the day. So you've created your long-term vision, and you've broken it down into months, and you've broken it down into weeks. And now we're going to take, what are you going to have done by the end of the day? It's the end of the day. And what is the thing that you have accomplished that day? And you create an affirmation. Now you start it by saying, I am so happy and grateful that. And then you end it with saying this or something better still, because you never know, you might get something better than you expected. And then either speak it all day long, or what I love to do is put it in my cell phone and listen to it throughout the day. So you're just programming yourself to be there. And then if you're not feeling so grateful, you're not feeling so successful, what you do is I like to put them in jars. Now, some people put them in a journal, but I like to put a little piece of paper in a jar for each one of those. And when I'm not feeling successful or grateful, I pull out some of those and I read them. And that helps me to get back into the resilient mindset I need to have. Life doesn't get any easier or more forgiving. And boy, don't we know that right now. We get stronger and more resilient. Along with the mindset things, I want to talk about the STOP acronym. It's super simple. You can use it in any part of your life or business. Anytime you're facing something where you can't make a decision, it's a problem, you don't know which way to go, you don't feel comfortable about something, stop. Just stop. Stop, let your mind go blank. Then T, take 3 deep breaths. In through the nose and out through the mouth. 3 of those. And then I want you to observe what you're feeling inside. What is your gut telling you? What are your instincts telling you? And then observe what's going on around you. And from that, you are going to have a thought that's your plan of action. So then P is proceed with a plan. So use this. I use this all the time when I'm trying to make a decision, or if I don't know what to do, or if I'm just bloody tired. I'll do this and say, okay, I can get up and move again. Now, as community leaders, there are 4 pieces of action. By the way, this is one of my very favorite quotes from JFK. When written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of 2 characters. One represents danger and the other represents opportunity. So whatever your passion is about for your community, just look at it and know that whatever the problem is, that's a danger, but the other side of the coin is you create the opportunity. So the first thing you want to do is be a really good listener. Listen with both ears, and don't let your head start thinking how I'm going to answer something before somebody finishes talking. If you have questions, when they pause, ask them the questions. Or if you need clarification, this is what I heard you say. and repeat what they said to make sure you heard it correctly. Then figure out how you can educate. How can you get out there and be that community leader that's going to show people how to do a better life? For me, it's about educating how we can help our kids, that can help their businesses all at the same time and save lives, property, and money. So it can't get any better than that. And then find your network. Who's your niche? Who's the people that you want to really group yourself around, and make sure that they all have resilient mindsets. Okay. And then you have a plan of action now. You have people that are going to work with you. People that are going to move forward. And as a community leader, you will stand out. You will be the hero of your community. And who are they going to do business with? The person that has the park bench or the bus bench, or the person that's making a difference in their community. Now, this is what I tell people in my course that are real estate professionals that are going to be out there talking about disasters. But I want you to use this as a way of saying, okay, this is my passion. What can I do to help my clients and customers that will help them along this way? So for disasters or other types of crisis, speak with them as soon as possible. I'm talking as a real estate professional now. Genuinely care. You've got to be authentic about this. You can't think, okay, well, I'm going to get more business because I'm caring about whether the disaster that happened, right? That won't work. Coordinate supplies. So right now we've got school back in charge. Maybe you wanted to help kids with back at school items. Whatever that is, coordinate the drives yourself. Help review real estate and other contracts. Maybe there's been a disaster where, like these poor people in Lahaina, their homes have been destroyed. Some of them are probably under contract, right? So be that person that helps to review them. And then also help them with the claims. People that have gone through that, 50% of all people that go through some kind of natural disaster or man-made disaster suffer from PTSD and need counseling. So they're in that space where they really don't know what to do. And it can be so overwhelming when in reality, it's fairly simple. Help determine whether or not a home is repairable. It may not be. Help them find new housing. Help avoid scams. One of the biggest things that happens when FEMA comes in, so FEMA comes in about a week and a half, everybody starts getting their checks. And scammers come out of the woodwork that are going to help you spend that money. So finding reputable contractors and finding people that are legitimate to help your clients would be a great benefit. And you will be the hero in that. You need to know the state laws. And this is true with no matter what kind of community leader you want to be. And that let homeowners know that they need to talk to their lenders right away. Realtor Magazine, this is a few years ago, did extensive research that in the month after a natural disaster, 18 to 32% of home sales were delayed and possibly not happened, because especially when it comes to fires and things like that. So a little bit about our Kits for Kids initiative and campaign. Well, the Kits for Kids, I'll explain what they look like and I'll show you in a minute. But I came up with, I always watch the Sunday morning show. And they had this young girl. I think she was from Florida, I believe. Anyway, when she was 11, her neighbor across the street was a beekeeper, and she gave her a couple of hives of bees, and she became a beekeeper at 11. Now at 14, she is a community. She's doing all the youth outreach on why it's so important to have bees. So again, whatever your passion is when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I decided, in addition to having the kids, getting the kids out to the kids, I needed kid spokespeople. So I'm putting together a campaign right now where we're going to have kids from all over the country, and I'm looking for people that want to help me do this. We're going to have campaigns where they send in a 30-second to a minute video about why they want to help the planet, why they want to help protect their family, why they want to be a part of whatever that initiative is. And we're going to have them send in. Well, now we picked one for each community, and then we're going to pick one for each, or two actually, a boy and a girl from each state, and then we'll pick a national one from that group. And here we've got now this army of kids that are out there talking about our platform and what we want to do. Kind of like the Girl Scout with the cookies. They're out there selling cookies, right? So we're going to be the cookies of the disaster realm. So why is it so important? And what do we need to do to make sure children feel safe? They have to know what to do in the time of emergency. They need to know how to act, what they need to have, that sort of thing. Have parents lead by example by being prepared. That is my biggest message all. I'm out there, I'm going to give these kits away to these kids, and but parents are going to be tagging along. What a better benefit than to get a new client, right? And being able to explain to them what they need to have in these kits. And we say, in the emergency kit you have for your kids at home, they don't have it. So this is what you need to have in that. But this little kit here 40% of what you need in that kit is in this kit. And it goes everywhere the kid goes, the playground, it goes in the bottom of their backpack. So the playground, school, sports, whatever. And then they need to know how to keep their kids calm and safe. It's very important that parents understand and know the verbiage to use, which is part of what we're doing. Parents that understand the importance of sustainability. What's going to happen to our kids in 40 years? To be honest with you, if I was a new young 22-year-old, God forbid, I got pregnant at 22, so I'm one of those. But I'm glad kids are waiting now. But the bottom line is I would be thinking twice about having kids. I would right now because it's so scary. But what happens now, so the next thing is, this is the kit. It fits. I don't know if you can see this. I can't see myself.
We can see it, Connie.
Okay, good. All right. This is the kit. It gets Velcroed into the bottom of the backpack. It has a tracker so the parents can track where the child is. It has emergency numbers, including the suicide hotline, because suicide has doubled in the last 3 years. There's going to be a overdose. There's a special phone number for that, as well as poison now. And there's going to be recorded instructions on the tracker from the parents to help calm the child down, to tell them what to do. It's also going to be, there's got a mask in here, there's a sanitizer bottle, there's a stop the bleed gauze that you put on your, whatever the wound is. And if that doesn't stop it, you put another one on. So that's all going to be in there. We have a person did a 2-minute breathing meditation. And we also had a gentleman who works with 49,000 churches that did a prayer that can be included in the case. And what happens is when there's an emergency and they are at home, they take this out of their everyday kit and they put it in their emergency kit, which the parents have prepared because we've told them what goes in it. So that is what the emergency kit is all about.
Connie, thank you so much.
You're
How
welcome.
does somebody get in touch with you to participate, donate, help?
You can go to this, take a picture of this, pay HIP and go to there, and you can download a free copy of the book. And this is my information. The QR code has all the information on how to donate, how to participate. And if you have any questions at all, if you'd like to get your challenge on your leadership stuff, just let me know and I'll send you the file.
Connie, thank you so much. Here's what I took from Connie's presentation today. I took that volunteer opportunities are an opportunity for you to show that you care, to be an agent of change, a valuable community resource, to create human connection over sales, because that will lead to sales, to host client appreciation events. Hey, by the way, I've got one in 2 weeks, whoever's interested, and to host community fundraisers. So those are some great tidbits. And then I also learned to focus, to have compassion, to be creative, and to have clarity, because it's all about the mindset. Connie, thank you so much for joining us today. And to everybody, thank you. Have the best day of your life. Be grateful, make good choices, go help somebody, and go find a listing. God bless you. Thank you, Connie. We'll see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I took an arrow to the heart. I never kissed a mouth that tastes like yours.